representing everyday Black millennial women of multiple faiths, cultures, and ethnicities. From the polls to Shade Room, this is Farah and Afnan with Rooted Black Girls. Hey, Farah. So tell me about what's been going on with you this week. I feel like it's been a rough week.
No, this week was oddly productive. I got a lot of work done. It was, we'll touch on it, but there was a lot of news and there seems to be a war on Black women in general. And so we'll talk about that a little later. But I also was throughout the week reflecting on our last episode about no period. And
I got a lot of feedback on that one.
We got a lot of feedback, and I don't think people were on our gravy train. I think our friends are too nice to us, yeah. But I think like no period is a complete sentence for a lot of people.
It is.
And then I had to examine maybe why that's difficult for me. And I realized I was like, maybe I just have a group of friends who all have the same issue that I have, which is saying no to people.
Doesn't feel attacked.
But it works because we're all friends, and so I don't think any of us are asking anyone to do something and it's their last, like you mentioned last week. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so we're pretty cognizant of that, but we try to be there and be available for people. Yeah. And so I don't typically need to say no period to the people that I've really,
you've selected to be around you
in my life. Yeah. That I've selected to be around me. But I think the person that, told me no period, is someone that I'm just like, maybe I shouldn't have you so close to me and that I should have maybe a more distant arm. But it also made me think like you should learn to say no or really do a better job of serving the people that come really close to you, and it's like, I should I be able to take that no period, and be cool with it? Or maybe I've done a poor job of allowing someone in my life that I know is not going to reciprocate the energy I'm putting in. So it was a week of reflection, and I think I'm like, are all my homies enablers? Like, do we all do this? Because I feel like none of y'all say no to me like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, maybe next week, maybe we can try another time, but it's not no period.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did you reflect on that at all this week?
I mean, you're making me reflect on it now. I saw the comments on Instagram and it did make me think a little bit, but I maybe I'm still on my toxic train. I was like, don't apply, next.
I know.
But now that I kind of hear you reflecting on it, I do think that we have a lot of the same friends. And I think that you're right. A lot of them are very, very generous, very, very giving. And I think a part of it is definitely cultural, right? Yeah. Part of it is definitely cultural, and in being gracious is expected of women. And then even outside of like, East African culture, I think of women, we're just expected to compromise consistently. And I think, but I also think that you brought up a good point when you're kind of talking about like the juxtaposition between, what you've invited into your life and then, what I think people who tell me no period, I'm like, cool, granted. Like I try not to argue with them, but immediately it puts me on notice. Like, okay, cool. I know how you're rocking. I respect the boundary that you set, but now I'm going to set a boundary and you're just not going to be, you're just not going to be that close with me just because, while I do accept no for an answer from my friends, the people who I like to keep around are people who are very sensitive to how I may feel and act on that. And even if they're like, I really can't do it, I'm sorry, they're willing to have the conversation about what else can be done or even understand what they need. Because, in a lot of my close relationships, I say, when people ask me for stuff and it's like it's tight for me to do, but then they clarify or help add context. Like, for example, like, hey, are you free today? Like, no, I'm not free. But then you're like, okay, because the reason why I'm asking is I got locked out of my car and I'm not gonna be able to get in my apartment. To me, that changes things, right? And I'm like, ooh, well, I don't want you to be out on the street. Like me readjusting my schedule for us to go to brunch is not the same in my mind as me readjusting my schedule to help you get your keys because you're locked out. And I think context is important, which is why no period is problematic for me because it doesn't give the opportunity to deepen understanding. It's not so much about like, if you say no, am I going to honor your request not to do something?
Yeah, exactly.
That might
I
be
don't
thinking too deep about it, but
No, and I think it really, like, I mean, if you're not thinking about what you're doing on a daily basis, then you're bound to, be doing something and not know the intention or the purpose. And I try to do everything with intention. And so
Mhm.
I think you're right. I had to think like, wow, maybe you shouldn't be that, I shouldn't be
Yeah.
that close to you. And I think my issue is I was like, I don't take no for an answer in life. And I think I told the person this. I was like, I am who I am and where I am,
All
and
the time.
granted I have a lot of places to go, but
Yeah.
like I am where I am today because I don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And specifically that's with me. Like I don't take no or like the inability or impossibility of things. That's not in my
Inshallah.
vocabulary,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah. And so I just realized like, I don't know if you're really that person that should be in my life. And that's what it is. This week has been a very sobering week around like, let me respect your no period, but it just doesn't work for me. And I need to create distance here.
Yeah.
I've had an issue around creating distance with this person before. So I'm just like, and I've done this with other friends where it took 10 years for me to create a boundary that was solid for me, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
cannot recreate that pattern. This has got to go on quicker.
Yeah.
So then now this is like a 2-year friendship. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing a lot better. Okay.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because I know you and I have talked about before, like I don't shy away from like cutting people off. Like when they show me who they are, I just take steps back. It won't be like super overt. It's just like, you'll like, kind of look up and be like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm like, that's on purpose.
That's on purpose,
You know what I mean? And so like, for me, I just adjust to how people treat me. Right. Like,
Yeah.
and so I don't think it always has to be confrontational. And I always have to assess like if the relationship is worth like a very poignant content. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but like
Yeah.
a very like specific conversation around like, hey,
Yeah.
you said this and I felt this way. Like, and I wanted to investigate. A lot of relationships to me like are not worth it to like go back and forth, because I just find that a lot of people are not mature enough to really have that conversation from a place of respect, instead of like either one, they're super dismissive, like, girl, it's not that serious. Why you even did it?
Mm-mm.
Next, like you do something like that, the minute I hear, I'm like, all right, cool. You're not part of the group of people that I want to keep around. Or if
I just, do you ever feel like I do a pretty good job of like, I like everybody, I'm really nice to everybody, but the people that I actually let in my life is really a small circle.
Yeah.
But because I think I'm pretty kind, and like nice to people, people think they're closer to me than they are.
For sure. People always assume that with,
Because I think being natural givers too, it just is like, I do it for everybody, it's a problem that I have. And so I think when I've done enough surveying to say, oh, I think you are someone that I could let into my life and like be a part of it. And not that it's phenomenally great or anything, but just like so that I'm protected and that I've brought people around that really understand who I am and that I am a giver and that they shouldn't really take a lot without kind of reciprocating that energy. I've done a really good job of cultivating that space. So then when people come and I'm like, whoa, I get upset at myself. Like, dang girl, like I thought you were good on serving people.
Yeah.
And when I'm not, I'm like, damn, I think I'm hard on myself in that way. Or I'm like, oh, I need a return on my investment. What's the ROI?
Yeah. And I think I actually had like that same struggle as well, as like, when you let someone in because you think they're close, and especially when you're already a cautious person, I think that I'm very cautious around like bringing people in, and I'm very big on vibes. So like it's once in a while I'll meet a person and you'll just click, and then for many years I'll be really, really close with that person or those people. But there has been times where I let someone in and I'm like, oh, I totally got you wrong. Like you're showing me like a totally different face. Like, and sometimes I agree with you. Like I myself have had struggled with thinking like, damn, like how did I misassess this?
Yes.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, it's their problem for being an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, some people are not vibing with you. Maybe people are seasonal. I don't really have a lot of seasonal friends. So, it's a harder pill to swallow, but it is what it is. I'm doing a better job of creating distance.
Yeah. Something that my aunt said to me, and I apologize for cutting you off, but it just came to me when you're talking about seasonal friends, is that people, no matter who they are, should have the power to change who you are. So if you are a nice person, you shouldn't operate from a place of fear, she would tell me, out of fear that you might get hurt. Now, I'm not saying like, give people your last all the time and then be surprised when when your coins is gone. She's like, but if you're a nice person, you would do something for a stranger on the street without consideration. Do that to everybody, regardless of what they do to you. And then if they do something, adjust your boundaries, like, apply more space. And that really changed my mentality about like when people hurt me, how I treat them. Because I'd be like, oh, a woman's I'm a show you, because you think I'm sweet for it at this point.
I know.
That's helped me like mature and grow up a little bit, to be like, you know what, I would do this for a random person I met on the street today.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Totally. So why am I going to sit here and do that to you? So
yeah, exactly. And then when I realize I'm over here counting because of your lack of reciprocation or your no period, and now I'm over here counting what I'm giving you, that's whack energy. And I don't want to do that. I'm not that person, but then I realized I've allowed people in my life that are easily reciprocating. It's not an issue. I don't have to count, Yeah. So let's listen to your auntie and Maya Angelou, who's everybody's auntie.
Right, period.
And like create those boundaries with people who are not serving us.
Yeah. And speaking of boundaries, this week has been like pretty tough for me, just because like one, work has been really stressful, but two, we have like a potential COVID scare in the house right now. So we're quarantining. Yes, child. So I don't have any makeup on right now. I'm not touching any of my favorite things, because I'm like, listen, I'm over here with bleach. I'm not about to sanitize all this shit. And I started getting like really like just negative energy. And then I saw a post by a young lady on Instagram who said, reframe all of your woes with gratitude. And I was like, how am I supposed to change it into a positive? And she kind of gives some examples, of, instead of like, I got all this laundry to do, into I am appreciative. I have so many clothes that I get to wear, and I have the funds and the detergent or whatever to be able to wash them in the way that I like. And I was like,
yeah, positive mindset there.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, alhamdulillah, we are still employed. We have insurance, my family is taken care of. And even though we're quarantining, we're all in our separate space and we're good. You know what I mean? And so that kind of helped me kind of set the boundaries between like my positive and negative vibes, because they're always, I'm always having to work to keep those in balance, to be honest. But yeah, I wanted to share that a little bit, since you had mentioned boundaries. I feel like we can't move on in the episode without talking about the unfortunate news of the ruling regarding Breonna Taylor.
Horrible.
And I want to say it doesn't even have anything to do with her when I think about it. It was about her neighbor's walls, apparently. So then I don't even think that she was listed.
It was the endangerment of a couple and their child, where the police officer sprayed bullets into their place too, because he was just shooting at random.
Yeah, that's insane.
So the police officer who actually shot her was in the front, I guess, in the front of the house.
Yeah.
The apartment. I'm not completely sure kind of geographically what was going on, but he was not charged at all.
That's nuts. And so you and I were talking about that, and it's like, a lot of people were really confused, and I myself had to look up like, what is wanton endangerment? And it's like reckless abandon.
I literally told my lawyer friend, I was like, so it's like reckless driving? Because in the state of Florida, if you hit a guardrail, let's say your car spins out of control because of rain. This has happened to me before, because I used to drive down on Road Dead, a Ford Explorer back in the day in high school, and the car was known for hydroplaning. And so it hydroplaned. I was driving like regular speed, spinned around. And of course I was terrified. I hit the guardrail, called the police officer. Police officer ended up giving me a motherfucking ticket for reckless endangerment or reckless driving.
Yeah.
For the guardrail, for the repair of the guardrail. Yeah. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's what this charges.
And I thought like a lot of people were really like confused and hurt and upset, and for good reason.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really like insult to injury when 2 police officers in Louisville were shot, and that Black man was charged with 14 counts of wanton endangerment, aside from the charges of attack on a police or assault on a police officer.
Yeah.
And I was like, so if y'all were going to use that charge, y'all could have been a little bit more generous with the charge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did they quantify that? And I'm not a lawyer by any means, but it really made me feel like, this war it feels like it's being waged on Black women right now is so exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
I'm tired. And I'm almost like, I don't want to get to the point where I'm desensitized, but it's just like, I feel like everywhere I turn this week, there was more and more bullshit
Yeah.
about whether it was violence against women, misogyny regarding women. It's just nonsense. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely want to bring that up.
With the verdict on, or the charges or the indictment of the officer with Breonna Taylor, I didn't think that we would get what we wanted here. I was almost certain of that. You know, of course,
I
we're
thought at
always
least we were gonna
hopeful.
try. Like I agree with you. I thought we were at least gonna see charges drawn.
Charges, and then, of
Yeah,
course, a court, or like a jury of your
a
peers,
process, an
probably. Yeah,
attempt.
yeah, an attempt. I didn't, because I know that systemically we have an issue in this country, and that's why Black Lives Matter protesters are calling for an entire dismantling of what we
An
know policing
overhaul.
to be right now.
Absolutely.
Because under this current justice system, there was no way that these officers were going to be charged,
Yeah.
and I think that's a really sad place to be. But I was almost certain that that wasn't going to be the case. You know, police officers with qualified immunity just are not going to be charged because they're protected under the law to do as they please, you
Yeah.
know? And it's really unfortunate. I think our sis Breonna Taylor will be a martyr, you know, unfortunately, an
That
unwanted
literally, my
martyr.
heart just sank when you
I
said that.
know, it's really sad. I have chills. I'm really saddened by this, because you know, there's one thing if you're a person of valor and you've decided to be in the armed
On the front
forces and
lines, a
your
part of
life on the
the
front lines.
resistance. Yeah.
There's another thing of being an unwanted martyr and you were sleeping in your bed, you know, and it just really is
It's
completely
disheartening.
unfortunate
Yeah.
and really sad. And you know, her name is going to be one that we say forever, you know, and I hope she lays and can and be at peace and at rest. And I hope that she is a symbol of a need for dismantling of the current policing system in this country.
Yeah.
And then for what's his name, the Cameron, is it, the Attorney General of the state of Kentucky,
He
for
is
him to not, he
despicable.
didn't even say her name during when he
It's
brought the charges up. It
despicable.
was just, and you're a black man at that, you know what I mean? But you are a Republican. And
That's
so
some
I
coon
just,
shit.
it's completely unacceptable, whether it doesn't matter what your color is, for you to not have any level of sympathy here, to not have some compassion, to not say her name
Getting upset all over again.
when you're discussing when he was discussing the charges. It was completely despicable and completely disgusting. And so we have to raise our sister, honor her, continue the fight, you know. And you know, you see a lot of things on Instagram discussing Black Lives Matter, and it's like, hey, yes, it may be an increase for you to discuss Black Lives Matter, but this is our everyday life.
Period.
And so we have to just continue the fight, period.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went from Breonna Taylor to Meg Thee Stallion, you know, and Tory Lanez announcing that he was going to do a live, but what he was doing was dropping an album. He dropped an album where I think majority of the songs discuss the incident.
Girl, I didn't know about the live, about him trying to do like a live. I was about to say, I know he didn't get on our damn internet to talk about what.
He didn't
Anyway,
get on the internet, but he said he was like, F it, I'm about to go live and
to draw in all this attention. And
yeah. And then he dropped an album. And of course, everyone's like, I'm streaming Meg Thee Stallion, not you. But of course, our good friends at the Shade Room detailed everything for us.
Child, listen. And there was countless posts that they dedicated to all that nonsense. And it sucks because I've been a Tory Lanez fan for many, many years, like 2008, like when his Chicks tapes came out. Mm-hmm. And I'm really saddened to see him use his creative abilities and his talent, quite frankly, to like, this whole, it's really just senseless, this whole thing. And I, like, at one point I didn't hear it. I'm not going to hear it. I'm not about to stream it, nothing. But he at one point was like calling into question whether she actually got shot in her foot, and then her medical records were leaked. And I was just like, this is too much. She freaking got on IG Live to show you her damn stitches being removed.
She was shot. She went to the hospital. There was blood dripping from the police incident that we all saw from the helicopter.
What more proof did you need?
Like, what more? Like, what does a Black woman have to do to tell you that she was disregarded? And then for you not to believe her? you know,
Yeah.
and even the Shade Room's reporting is quite insane about it too. They're like, Cedars-Sinai report shows that Meg Thee Stallion was actually shot, was really shot. I'm like, really shot? Like this happened, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And like he can easily deny it, and then it causes people to take back their verdicts or take back their believing of Meg Thee Stallion.
Yeah,
And it
all
just
of a sudden
shows you how disrespected Black women are.
Yeah.
We're not believed, we're not protected, we're not considered. Our voices aren't named. Charges are rarely brought on people who abuse us.
Yeah.
Whether that's rape charges, whether that's domestic violence, whether that's police officers.
Or even in the medical field, which you know better than I do. Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's police officers shooting Black women, it's non-stop bombardment of disrespect and hurt and pain.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Black women are so resilient. When people talk about the Black community being resilient, they're
talking about us.
It's talking about us.
You're welcome.
You know? Yeah. It's like, you're welcome. But in addition, and Jadena posted this, he was like, we're not protecting the women who protect us every day when we don't even ask for it. Every day we're shading and protecting you. Yeah. And we can get a little bit of acknowledgement.
Not even a semblance of support, nothing.
It's unacceptable. And and this thing was circulating of like, you can do a lot with the women in your life.
Just start there. You don't got to make a sign. You don't have to do it publicly. Just be decent.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
we on our soapbox. Anyway,
we are, y'all. And it's like, we got to keep talking about the same thing over and over and
Wallahi,
over
again. Me and Farah were literally right before this, like, we're going to talk about this shit again. We got to take it there again.
And we're going to always raise Black women, you know, because that's who we are. But what you're saying, Ifnan, just speaks to our exhaustion as Black women. First on the pod, right? And like who we represent and what we're doing this for. Sure. But in addition to when I put my little Yeezys on, and then I got to deal with this nigga acting stupid on the damn Twitter. You know what I mean?
Child.
And supporting his Black business, and then he just does dumb stuff all the time. So it's just nonstop.
From every angle. That doesn't talk. That's not work. That's not the dumbass who you met, you know, grabbing your coffee in the morning. It's just there's no breaks. There's no breaks.
And that's it. For Black women, we get no breaks at all. At least for Black men, you receive compassion, solace, respect when you're in the company of Black women. At least you guys have that.
Yeah, and don't listen, let me be clear. Disclaimer alert, do not get in our comments arguing about this. You'll get blocked off jump. Don't come in here and be like, well, what about women who, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
The only place I really feel safe is probably with other Black women.
Period. That's when you know, listen, don't get me started.
It's probably people that I've cultivated in my space where I've done my little surveying when I get it right. You know? It's not all of y'all.
Are you in support of Tory Lanez or Meg Thee Stallion?
Exactly.
Tory, you like Tory? Next.
Yeah. Because then there are women who are the biggest arbitrators of patriarchy too. So don't get me there. Yeah. You know, don't make me go there.
That's a whole episode.
That's a whole nother pod. Yeah. But like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we're always going to be in support. We're always going to talk about it when we don't want to because it's our life. Yep. It's like what's that damn show? Real World. This is Real World.
Somebody needs to revamp, rebrand, and put Black women on there to show you exactly what the real
wouldn't that be? They wouldn't want to see that.
Girl, they're not ready. They would be terrified.
Yeah, that's not about like the real
educated Black woman in power. Oof.
It's too much.
They're not ready. But speaking of being in power, voting is coming up. I myself have moved. Girl, do you know the next appointment for me to get a Texas license is in January, and I've been here since August?
Whoa.
Yeah, they trying big stuff.
I thought you have to claim residency pretty soon.
You do, but you do. So like I registered my car and everything like the week after I got here, alhamdulillah, they give you 30 days, I think. But I'm just, I have a passport, which is the only other thing that I need if I wanted to go vote. So I'm going to go register next week. I was waiting to get a driver's license, but then they came back and were like, oh, our next appointment's not until January. But you know how people are staffed.
Voter suppression.
Period. That's where I was heading with this, honestly. And I was like, subhanAllah, if I didn't actually have a passport, because many Americans actually don't travel abroad, I would be screwed, Farah. I would be screwed because they wouldn't take my state license, even if I had a, you know what I mean? And even going back when we were voting in Georgia, I remember people at the voting precinct not really knowing if we had the ability to vote when we first moved to Georgia. And so I just want to kind of raise awareness that there's some real big issues on the table right now. If you don't know, a quick Google search will help you out.
Yeah.
Right. Ask your friends who are politically involved. I'm not going to sway you one way or another, but if you're tired of this, if you listen to this podcast and you're exhausted like we are, and you're tired of the nonsense, the biggest thing you can do is actually going and voting. So, I advise you guys to take advantage of any voter registrations, because usually you have 30 days, which is like less than a week or two for my state cutoff. I think next week
it's supposed to be 15 days you can get an early voting ballot, but my plan is to early vote in person.
For sure.
And then I think I'm taking Tuesday,
I'm
big
taking
Tuesday
the day off. They ain't
and
playing
Wednesday. Because I remember being just completely just washed
and exhausted,
on that following Wednesday, and having to go to work and being like, 2016, what I don't even know what, in November, whatever, on a Wednesday. And I was like, I
just need time to process. I'm about to put my day in. I'm so glad you said that. That's genius. Can we put that on the Instagram? Because literally, I hope that it goes well, but in the event that it doesn't, I'm going to need a day. I'm going to need a day.
And I'm thinking about also volunteering to be a poll worker, just because it's usually like old aunties that are in there, and I'm like, you with coronavirus don't need to be there. And I think we need to see
it literally is the old aunties, isn't it?
So y'all definitely vote. Definitely take care of the Black woman in your life. That's something actively you could be doing. And then examine, the no period. Are you an enabler? Are you?
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
just giving and giving and giving. But yeah, let's discuss this all in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely rate and comment on whatever podcast platform you're on, or if you're watching it on IGTV, definitely comment and share. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. Peace.